In Space Station 14, you can inject power cells with plasma. When that power cell is then used in a device, say like a Svalin laser pistol, it will explode. The amount of damage and the severity of the explosion will depend on the power cell inside. For example, a small power cell exploding directly on top of you will do 45 damage with no explosive protection. To make plasma bombs, it's really simple. Even a Grey Tider can do it. All you need is a syringe, which you can get from asking chemistry, asking science, asking botany. Botany might be your best bet. A cup, which you could easily just steal from the bartender, or you can even use something like a soda can. And you just have to get a blender or reagent grinder, which the most likely place you're going to be allowed to use one is the chef. If there's no chef, just hop the counter and use it. If there is a chef, just ask. Pretty much no one ever cares what you're doing. You stick the plasma in the grinder, click grind. One piece of plasma gives you 10 plasma in liquid form, and that's enough to make 2 bombs. Next, you just need a power cell. My favorite things to inject are flashlights. Why flashlights? Flashlights always come with medium capacity power cells, and people typically try to use them to, well, see, so they'll turn them on, pretty much guaranteed. Even if they salvage a battery and use it for something else, they'll explode later, which is fine. So something I like to do is I like to just put the flashlight, for example, in like a dark corner, like right here. What a majority of people will do at this point, they'll just walk into maintenance and be like, oh, this is nice, turn the flashlight on, and nearly one-shot themselves with the medium power cell. Also, you can see the explosion was quite large. And yeah, the medium explosion does quite a lot of damage, 78 damage. That's nearly enough to crit a person. The medium capacity power cell not only does more damage to the individual, it also does a lot of damage to the environment. And medium capacity cells are not all that hard to find. You can also inject things like stun batons with them, and this one's quite nefarious. Any sec officer who has a rigged stun baton will probably never know it until they turn it on. At which case, it completely blows up the stun baton and will nearly one-shot the security officer. That did 90 damage to me, so anyone even with a minor amount of damage would go into a critical state from this. Another very devious thing to inject with plasma is defib batteries, because they're also medium capacity, and you have to consider that whoever is going to be using it is going to be using it on a patient, so they're going to explode, probably blow up a bunch of chemicals. You're going to basically bomb medbay for free. What's really brutal about the defib is that turning it on actually isn't what makes it explode. It's just the act of using it. So you can go through the full bar, and then it explodes. So you are basically going to give whoever you're reviving even more damage. You're going to blow up all the nearby medicine. And of course, you'll take the 78-ish damage. And of course, you'll take the 67-ish damage from the explosion itself. So, you might even crit a medical doctor, and just in general cause a lot more chaos. A high-capacity cell will actually do the same damage as a stun baton exploding. It will do 90 damage, which again is not enough to kill you, but if you have any form of extra damage, you will go into a critical state. Hypercapacity cells explosions are quite impressive. So if I just turn on a flashlight with a hypercapacity cell, you can't even see the full extent of the damage, but it's a massive explosion, and it's enough to knock a unarmored target well into crit. Obviously, hypercapacity cells aren't that common, so you're not going to see those ones too often, but if you ever get the chance of science to make those, you can make some very powerful handheld explosives. And finally, of the power cells, there is a microreactor power cell, which slowly recharges itself, and if we use this one, the damage of the microreactor seems to be the same as a medium, so not super dangerous, but again, it does a lot of damage, and microreactors are kind of rare, so it's really not all that important to know that one. Really, all you have to know, though, is that higher tier battery does more damage, bigger explosion, more chaos. And yes, they can space the floor if the floor tiles are already missing, but again, that's not really the primary purpose. You're trying to just damage individuals, not necessarily destroy any like structures. The best case scenario is you use it on like a defib and you blow up a lot of medical supplies and medical, or you steal a baton and give it back to security, which I've done this quite a few times actually. It's one of my favorite strategies is steal a baton and go give it back, and most security officers will take them, and a lot of them will just turn it on right then and there and blow themselves up, and they'll never know because it destroys the baton. So even if you don't have gloves, they won't get your fingerprints. And then people will be like, oh, sec got bombed, then all security will go back to security, so you could just go kill the RD or whatever. I use that one quite often. I love plasma bombs. I don't really see people use them, which is why I'm finally making this video. It's kind of an obscure mechanic, to be fair. You have to syringe a battery, so like I don't really know who's gonna naturally discover that. So I hope y'all enjoy knowing this tip, and I really hope you start making some plasma bombs, because blowing people up remotely is funny.